welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another insightful and deeply exciting conversation. Goldilocks is about helping us make sure we get things just right. And what does getting things just right mean in terms of telling stories, memorializing journeys, and using those stories to help others get life just right? Because we all know that somewhere along the way, it's books that other people wrote helped shape our thinking, helped shape our choices, and truly shaped us as humans. So when we've benefited so much from the writing of other people, how do we leave a piece of our journey behind for those who come after us? Is an important conversation to have. And to have this conversation is a dear friend of the podcast, Cathy Derksen. Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun.
Lovely to have you. And I want you to take a moment and share with our audience why you decided to not just write, but help other people write and tell stories, because by telling the stories, you are doing something important, not just for the writer, but for also the readers.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And yes, mine is kind of a twisted story. I've been laughing lately because it's been roughly about 5 years now that I've been doing this. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I planned on getting into publishing and writing, I probably would have laughed at you because there was really nothing in my path that had led me. There was no hint in my previous lives that this is the direction I was going. But I'd known that I was supposed to be doing something that was creating a true impact in the lives of women, but I wasn't sure what that was. And when I started with multi-author books, my whole calling really at that time was that I had just come through a divorce, a complete career change. I had two teenagers with me at the time, and I felt my story would help other people. And it literally was like a calling. There was just this, I heard about this book that was coming up, some local women were putting together, and I couldn't say no. There was just something in me that said, you need to be in this book now. And when I went into that book, I was working a job. I wasn't promoting anything. It was strictly that feeling that my story could help other women. And next thing I knew, I was getting invited into other book projects and different communities. And a couple weeks ago, I hit 20. So I've now participated in 20 anthologies. And many of those are other people's projects, and I'm just one of the authors in them. But I got to a time when I just realized that I loved this process of putting our story on paper. And like you mentioned, I could really see both the value for myself as the writer, but also the value for the reader. As especially as women, I think we learn a lot from each other's stories. We find strength, we find motivation, inspiration, and it kind of draws us together as a community. And so about 3 years ago now is when I think it was my fifth and seventh book I was in the middle of writing, and it just hit me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be bringing women together, making this opportunity to share your story, become a published author, step into new possibilities. I just realized this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so since then, so over the last about 2.5 years, we've released 7 books. As you and I were just chatting before we came on, I've got 4 books that should be out by the end of the year. So we're just getting those finished up. And so really I create books on many different themes, bring together people literally from all over the world. Most of my books are just women, but I have a few books that are men and women as well. And I just love it. I love the community it creates. I love giving people that opportunity to tell their story, and especially for those of us who are entrepreneurs, to be able to have author in our profile. And for so many, it's that stepping stone, getting started as an author. And quite often they'll go on to do their solo book and more books. So it's really been an amazing journey.
I'm so happy to hear you uh, explain and share your journey, Cathy, because as a fellow writer, I know the catharsis of writing itself. Growing up as a child in the middle of a war zone, writing was my way of dealing with my emotions and making sense of what was going around me. And to this day, when I find myself in complex situations, I like to sit down and write. When I write it as a story and every character is given its due place, it allows me to step away from inside of me to look at the situation from the outside and make sense. And I love the power of anthologies because it brings so many different perspectives together around the theme. Talk to us a little bit about how you invite people into the anthology, who are the right people to come into it, and what does that process entail?
Yes, yes. I guess my general process right now around bringing people in, I create as I create themes and titles, I literally just start reaching out to people in my different communities, people that I know, post. LinkedIn is my main social media where I'll be posting, this is what's happening next, come along and join us. And so that's been my main way of doing this. I know I need to get better at creating more streamlined system, and I've been working on creating more of a community where we're in contact more that way. And I would say the people who this is right for are women who do feel called to share their journey, women that know that the value of sharing their story is really important. As I mentioned earlier, for women who are entrepreneurs, it's really, I would say, essential. It's almost become expected that as an entrepreneur, you have the word author in your profile. And regardless of what the book was, just having that word author in your profile elevates you into a different level of authority and credibility. So it's definitely essential for people who are entrepreneurs. And the other part of that too is that it becomes an amazing way of building visibility in your business. You think about it, we have a community. My books, I focus on 20 people per book. So now we've got 20 people from literally around the world who are all promoting the same thing together. It is an amazing way to just expand into other communities, get to know people in different parts of the world. One of the books we're working on right now, we've got people in Dubai, Guatemala, Switzerland, Germany, UK, Australia, New Zealand. Like it's amazing. Of course, US and Canada, and but just the community literally from all over the world coming together in these books. And one thing I always love to add is don't feel that you need to be an expert author. That's one thing I find really holds a lot of women back. They feel like, well, I'm not an author. And so this isn't for me, but that's not true. It's amazing how, for most of us, especially those of us that do writing for work and, communicate regularly, you'd be amazed at how good of a writer you actually are. And of course, we have a professional publishing team that we work with. So we've got professional editors, formatters, the whole, so you are assisted the whole way along and supported in that process. So that is definitely not something to hold you back.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Kathy, because every woman knows how to tell a story. Because
Yes.
we as women live life and engage in life through storytelling and listening to other people's stories, right? So it's inherently how we function, how we show up, and therefore telling our story based on the lens of what it is we're trying to thematically talk about is a natural extension of who we are. So I'm glad you are calming the nerves of people saying you don't have to be a professional writer. If you've
Yes,
lived and you have a story that's going to benefit somebody and it's going to help you heal, then just write. And that story is
exactly.
going to speak. And so that is so powerful. Now, in addition to worrying, am I a good writer? Women also worry about, can I afford this process?
Mm.
How do I make sure I can successfully navigate this? How do you calm their concerns in those non-writing areas?
Mhm. Yes. So basically, with the projects that I create, the authors share in that cost of creating the book. And so in that cost is a whole team of people. There's well over 100 hours of work that go into these projects. And so we've got editors, graphic designers, publishing team, marketing people. So it's a team of people involved. So there is a cost in participating. And so, but what I do, I know you'll often find these kind of projects at 3,000, 5,000. I've seen them over $10,000. And I do my best to keep the expenses at a minimum to really keep it accessible to more people. So my projects right now are under $2,000. That probably will be going up a bit, as we move into the new year, but I keep it as reasonable as I can. And I always do offer payment programs as well. So for people, if that lump sum is too much, breaking that down over a few months, it's amazing how that can become doable.
That is so true. And when there is a will and there is the ability to adjust, and if you have a team that is willing to work through that, it's pure magic, right? We have Dr. Manon here today as part of our live audience. She's been a part of the anthology we did. So a lot of us go through this process. We understand it. We understand the joy. The goal is to continue to bring other people into the fold so that our stories are told, but our stories are told in a way that they sit side by side to showcase that each of our journey is different, but they're also related.
Yes,
Talk to
yes.
me a little bit about how doing these anthologies transforms you, because you can't go through this process and
Mm.
stay the same.
Yes. And it's kind of interesting too that that's definitely a part of it that people don't anticipate. And I hear that from a lot of people. And I have to admit for myself, when I did my first chapter, it wasn't something I was expecting either. And there's just something in that process of kind of rethinking your story and then just the act of putting it on paper and releasing it out into the world. There is a therapeutic piece to that, like just the feeling that you don't expect and you almost can't explain that's there. And another part that I often get from people too is say they want to be talking about a story that maybe is sensitive, perhaps involves other people that they don't necessarily want to, upset anybody. And so there's ways of working around that as well. There's ways of, whether we're changing names or slightly changing parts of the story just to make it so that you can tell your story but not upset other people. So there's definitely ways of working around that too. Oh, you're on.
Very much so. And I'm glad you have a history of doing this. You have set up a cadence. You're bringing your experience in. Who are the type of people who should be wanting to reach out to you to engage in this process?
Mhm. Yes, yes. I would say the top piece is that desire to share your story and looking at it too as a way of leaving a legacy, that it's not just a way of you, I guess, almost purging yourself out onto paper, but down the road now there's other people, whether it's your family, your friends, your community, that now you've left a legacy there. And so I find too a big part of it is the community that is built. And so I do my best to really help the authors in each book get to know each other, connect with each other, look for collaborations, friendships, business opportunities, all those kind of things, really build that community inside the book. So I would say too, a big part of it is women who are interested in expanding their networks, especially on a global scale, who are interested in connecting and getting to know other women that, like you said, there's a common thread among everyone in each book. So finding that common thread, looking for those connections, I think is an important part as well.
Thank you, Cathy. I am so thoroughly enjoying this conversation, and I know our audience are going to as well. can you take a moment and tell us how we can get a hold of you?
Sure. My website is inspiredtenacity.com. And on the website, you'll find information about my previous books, my current books, upcoming ideas. There's a spot there where you can actually download PDF copies of my previous books. So jump in there. There's also buttons that take you to Amazon if you'd like to purchase the books. So that's all on my website. And my main social media is LinkedIn. So you can definitely find me there as well. That's where I am most active. So those are the two best spots.
Thank you, Cathy. As I open this up to a live audience, I invite anybody with questions, thoughts to jump in and engage with Cathy and me. Go ahead, Dr. Manon.
Hi, Cathy. Hi, Dr. Henry. I guess Cass mentioned that I was part of an anthology as well, a couple of moons ago, I think in 2020, 2022-ish. And I agree with you that, writing your story is very cathartic and it gives you some focus and finding a purpose. And I know for me, it was more, I was in a little wind tunnel, and there was a lot of things going on for me, and just sitting there and being forced to align myself gave me some encouragement, courage, and a little more path forward kind of a thing. I was wondering, you touched on the cost and you touched on other things, and I was wondering about the copywriting and the ownership during the process for your particular
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically in my books, each author maintains complete ownership of their own story. So you are free to use parts of it, all of it. The only thing that we ask is that they don't release the exact chapter anywhere else before the book is launched. Once the book is released and we've hit our international #1 bestseller status, they are free to use their chapter in any way they want.
Okay, cool. And the other question I had was, you mentioned that your purpose was to bring a opportunity and create an environment for healing and exploration and sponsorship of others was your purpose. And I was wondering, and you also mentioned creating community and connection. So I was wondering, what are some of those activities that you do during the process to kind of bring that community and collaboration between your authors?
Yeah, no, there's a few different things. So one is we have a group chat usually on LinkedIn for each of the books, so the authors can easily connect with each other, communicate with each other, get to know each other that way. We do group Zooms roughly once a month with the group as well. So they've each got that opportunity to come together, introduce themselves. We always also bring in ideas of, what are they looking for? What can we help you with? So, really getting to know each other in different ways like that and learning more about what each of the members to the table. And about the book coming out, we do, again, kind of streaming Zoom events where the authors are all introducing themselves, getting to know each other that way. And it's actually been amazing at the connections that are made in these books. And one of them, I've got a special series that's specifically for women in STEM. And we're working on our third book right now in that series. And the first one came out over 2 years ago now. And I leave those chats open.
Sorry, Cathy,
years
you
ago
broke
are
up.
still communicating regularly.
Yeah, the whole STEM thing you broke up.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
You
okay.
said,
Yes, no, I was just saying that it's
oh,
yeah, so I was just saying that we have a series of books specifically for women in STEM, and the first book that we were reading regularly in that LinkedIn chat. So they're still celebrating with each other when somebody wins an award. They're still letting people know I'm looking for a job. So I'm helping this person. So there's still this ongoing communication in that group, even 2 years after the book has been launched.
That is
So
so
it's
amazing.
really, I guess like everything, it is what you make it. So ways that we build community.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you so much for that question, Nandini
You're
and
welcome.
Kathy. The way you're handling it is truly the way you build community, right? It's not transactional. You stay in it long after, and you support and nurture and continue to build the community so that beyond the book, people have each other. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. We appreciate you. We appreciate the process you're bringing out to the world, and we cannot wait for your anthologies to launch. Stay in touch. Keep the Goldilocks community posted, and we would be happy to even feature some of your authors as the books get ready to be launched. So think of us as an extension of your community. We welcome you, your co-authors, so that we can celebrate each woman's story and stand in her truth and truly support as well as learn from it. And to our audience out there, remember you each have a story, and you have more than one story. Our life is like a epic, multiple stories following the prior stories. And we're not shaped by any one story, but we are informed by every story. So embrace your story, go beyond your story to become who you were meant to be. And in the process, keep listening to us and reach out to us if you're interested in writing, because we can get you connected and get your story told.